When I'm getting a guitar tone in my studio, I'm typically looking for something that will fit well into the mix. I'm always thinking about the mix at the beginning of the process. And so a guitar tone that works well on its own is great. However, there's other instruments in the band, and a guitar tone that fits in context of those other instruments is usually what I'm going for. When I'm going for live guitar tones in my band Converge, it's not that different from how I would do it in the studio. I'm still really thinking about the mix and how the tone will fit into the mix more so than how it fits on its own. But the big difference for me, being in Converge, we're a one guitar band. So what I like to do is actually run 2 amp models. So I'm running a stereo rig with one model on one side, one model on the other. And then on one side, I have a pseudo doubler effect that slightly delays and detunes that channel so that the front of house engineer can hard pan the 2 guitar tones, which then opens up a hole in the middle for everybody else to live. I like to think of the analog workflow that I've historically had as being a contributing factor to a record that I work on sounding unique. So I've always been a bit skeptical of how well weird, sort of unusual analog guitar tones could be translated into the digital medium. But I've really been impressed with what STL has been able to do in capturing these sort of unique and somewhat unusual guitar tones that I get and translate them into the tracing amplifier architecture. It's pretty awesome to have this palette of non-standard tones to work with, and I'm happy to have that in my arsenal now. Being in Converge is hugely influential in my recording career. I really look at them as 2 sides of the same coin. They're both about being creative, they're both about connecting with the music community and with other artists, and the 2 things have been mutually beneficial. They have sort of taken turns influencing each other. And I mean, it's provided me with the experience of touring with my band and with other bands to really understand what it's like to be in a touring band. And I think I bring that experience with me to all of my productions. Actually, a lot of the sounds included in this pack were captured during the recording of the new Converge record. So had I had those sounds available to me during the recording, it certainly would have sped the process along for me quite a bit. I wouldn't have had to constantly be going out and changing microphone positions and amp settings and pedal settings and whatnot. I would just have access to everything at my fingertips. So I'm really excited to now have this pack at my disposal for use in my own studio productions. My favorite thing about ToneHub is how it can really accurately capture what I'm doing in my studio with my amps and mics, but then by manipulating the knobs and the tracing amp, by moving the microphone positions and adjusting the resonance of the cabinet, and by tweaking all of the various stomp boxes that are included, you can take the sound and take it to someplace that it couldn't go in the analog domain. So it being a tool that is not just something that accurately mimics what I'm doing in my studio, but something that can take it to a new place is what I really love about it. I think the most important thing when recording music is to always keep the song in mind and sort of make engineering decisions that support the intent of the artist. So what I do is listen to the song and try to figure out what the song needs rather than to impart my own vision upon it. It's tough for me to quantify what's unique about what I do. I think everybody's their own person and they all have their own sensibilities and their own sort of skill sets that they bring to the table with whatever they do. And for me, I think I'm always focused on making stuff feel alive and feel like the live experience of how I grew up experiencing music. And so that's what's important to me. And if that has some sort of influence on my recordings, then so be it. think people who are fans of my guitar recordings are really going to like this pack, but I also think anybody who's looking for something a little bit different out of digital guitar tones is really going to appreciate it as well. But also, I think a lot of recording engineers are going to have a great time using these sounds to complement other sounds that they're using already in their studios.